Tina, can you hear me okay?
I can hear you.
Oh, you know what? I don't have my statement here handy. Hang on a second, find it real quick. Okay, I'm ready whenever you are, Tina. Let me know when we're ready to go live.
Okay. Oh.
Good evening, Mayor.
Good evening, how are you?
Good.
Good evening, Kevin.
Good evening, Kev.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Give me just a moment.
Sure.
I'm just waiting to hear.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
All right. All right, good evening, everybody. The time is now 6:03 p.m. and I'd like to welcome everybody to the regular meeting of the Galt City Council for Tuesday, February the 15th, 2022. Due to the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic emergency, we have to continue to handle our city council meetings much differently than we do for the protection of the public and our city staff. I'm now going to ask our city manager, Mr. Hines, to give us a brief explanation. Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mayor. This meeting of the Galt City Council is being conducted by teleconference/video conference only pursuant to the County of Sacramento's January 6, 2022 health order prohibiting in-person city council meetings. Members of the public will see the council members and city staff who are appearing via remote video/telephone connections. City council meetings will be held virtually by teleconference or video conference only until further notice by the county. Today's agenda states that we are also using the Zoom webinar format, which allows the public to provide live public comment. Members of the public may use the link to enter the webinar as attendees. They should be able to use the raise their hand feature in the Zoom webinar to let us know if they would like to speak, and should do so when the mayor announces the time for general public comment or when a specific agenda item is called if your comment concerns an item on the agenda. Attendees should also see a lower hand feature if they change their mind and do not want to speak. In addition, members of the public may use the call-in feature also described in the agenda. You may just listen if you prefer, but if you'd like to speak when the mayor announces the time for public comment, you may do so by pressing *9 at that time. We request, as we typically do at in-person meetings, that speakers provide their name and address when they're called upon to speak. However, doing so is not required. Today's agenda states that residents may submit written public comments via email to pubcom@cityofgalt.org prior to the council meeting. In view of the direct video conference and call-in direct opportunities for public comment just described, email comments will not be read out loud during the meeting, but will be distributed to City Council, made part of the official minutes, and posted to the city's website prior to the meeting. Mayor Farmer, that concludes my comments.
All right, thank you, sir. I'll now call the meeting to order. Tina, can I get a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu,
Here.
Councilmember Papineau,
Here.
Councilmember Vandenberg,
Here.
Councilmember Lozano,
Here.
Mayor Farmer.
Here. If everyone would now join me in a silent prayer followed by our flag salute. Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everybody. Tina, could you please read our replay statement?
This meeting of the Galt City Council will be cablecast on Metro Cable 14, the local government affairs channel on the Comcast Consolidated Communications and AT&T Uverse cable systems. The meeting is closed caption and webcast at metro14live.saccounty.gov. Today's meeting will air Friday, February 18th at 9 a.m. and Saturday, February 19th at 9 a.m. This meeting can also be viewed at youtube.com/Metro Cable 14.
Thank you. Moving on to item B, agenda approval, additions and or deletions. Do I have anything from council? Okay. We'll move on to item C, our public comment. Tina?
Under Government Code Section 54954.3, members of the public may address the City Council on non-agenda items. The public comment section is for the City Council to receive comments. Except for brief responses to questions, no discussion or action may be taken on any item that is not listed on the agenda. Please limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Due to the statewide emergency, public comments may also be submitted as noted above via the options listed on the first page of the agenda for providing live public comment or prior to the meeting via email to pubcom@cityofgalt.org by 4 p.m. on the day of the meeting, which will be distributed to City Council, made part of the official minutes, and posted on the city's website prior to the meeting, but will not be read out loud.
All right, thank you. Do we have any public comment?
There are no hands raised at this time.
Okay, so for those of you watching from the public, our public comment for general public comment is now open. If you are watching on Zoom, you can raise your hand through the Zoom app. If you are on the telephone, you can raise your hand by pressing *9. And when you're called on, you will need to actually press *6 to unmute your phone. So I'm going to give a few moments here for anyone who wishes to speak to do so. Again, this is for general public comment only. If you wish to speak on a particular specific agenda item, you can wait and do so on that particular item. This would be for non-agenda items. All right, do we have any hands raised or callers?
And no hands raised.
Okay. All right, well, with that, I'm going to now close the public comment period. And we will move on to item D, presentations. Do we have any presentations this evening?
None this evening.
All right, thank you. Moving on to item E, reports by city council members on regional boards, commissions, and committees. We'll start with our vice mayor, Mr. Sandhu.
Nothing to report tonight. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Council member Papanow.
I also have nothing to report.
All right, Council member Vandenberg.
3 for 3. I have nothing to report.
All right, Councilman Lozano.
As always, I will screw up the batting average for us. I do have something to report. I met on February 3rd with the SACOG Transportation Committee. I've been reassigned from policy and innovation to transportation this year. And so we talked about the new MTP SCS, which, as you all know, is the blueprint, if you will, for how SACOG looks at reducing greenhouse gases as ordered by the state. This year, the 2024 actually blueprint, which is getting started now, is going to be called the blueprint and not the MTP SCS. So if you hear me refer to the blueprint in the future, that's what it is. It's just being renamed. And that comes from a name that they created 20 years ago, probably. And so we talked about a little bit of the policy framework and some growth forecasting. The interesting thing is it looks like the growth is not going to be as expected, and for several reasons. One, the birth rates seem to be low, but California is still losing people to other states. And so there are several reasons for that, obviously, but so that moving forward is going to be an interesting piece of this whole thing, how the blueprint's put together. So we talked about the funding rounds and what that's going to look like for 22-23. There's going to be some federal grants that are available for transportation. And so the SACOG Transportation Committee is just asking that local agencies check with them before applying for grants so that they can do two things. One, help, and then maybe combine some to get more bang for our buck. So that was pretty much it for the SACOG Transportation Committee. We do have a board meeting on Thursday at 9:30 in the morning, and I'll report back out on that at the next meeting. And then lastly, I attended the Cal City's Community Service Policy Committee. It was our first one that we've had. We just talked about what the advocacy and education was going to be, what the agenda for Cal Cities was going to be, and it's really to talk about the community service piece of it is talk about homelessness and wraparound services related to homelessness, parks and open space, children, childcare and youth programs, as well as senior aging issues. And through all that, advocating for disaster preparedness as it relates to all four of those topics. So libraries seem to be an item that a lot of the members of the coastal communities wanted to talk about, and for good reason. They use their libraries during COVID for as community centers, and so how libraries can interact with COVID and future disasters is real important to them. So we'll be talking about that as well. And I'll just leave it at that. Like I said, I'll report back out on this quarterly committee in April, May. So, and that's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir, for that information. Myself, I just have one thing. I attended the Youth Commission meeting on February the 7th, and we discussed, amongst other things, some of our fundraising activities that are going to be going on. And we viewed a video that was made with the help of a staff member from Cal Waste who helped participate in our last cleanup day that the Youth Commission or the Youth Commission's Adopt a Street, I guess is more the appropriate term, that we did on Lincoln Way. And so they came out and did a bunch of video and pictures, and we were able to see the result of that. And some of that will be coming out on social media for the Youth Commission very soon. So, and they also have a, speaking of that, they have a community cleanup day this weekend on Saturday, the 19th at 9 o'clock at Community Park. Anybody's interested, the beautification committee will be doing that with them. So that's all I have. Moving on to item F, our information consent calendar. It is recommended that items 1 and 2 be acted on simultaneously unless a separate discussion and or action is requested by a council member. Do I have any separate actions requested by council for the consent? Okay, I will need, actually, let me read those. So item 1 is going to be the minutes of the regular meeting of February the 1st, 2022. Item 2 is going to be receive and file warrants for a period ending February 2nd, 2022. Do I have any public comment on this, on the consent calendar?
No hands raised.
Okay. Again, if you would like to make a comment about our consent items, you may do so raising your hand on Zoom or press *9 on the telephone. I'll give just a few moments for that, and then I will be looking for a motion to approve these 2 items.
Move.
All right. Closing public comment on this item. I have a motion by Vice Mayor Sandu. I have a second.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Vandenberg. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau,
Aye.
Councilmember Vandenberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Farmer.
Aye. Consent calendar approved 5-0. Moving on to item G, schedule matters, notices of public hearing. Do we have any this evening?
None this evening.
All right, then we'll now move on to our regular calendar, item H. First item is going to be from our treasurer's office. The subject is going to be the treasurer's report for a period ending December 2021, given by our illustrious treasurer, Mr. Sean Farrell. Sir?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, City Council members. You have the treasurer's report in your packet this evening. But first, before I get to that, I always talk about what's going on in Galt as far as housing unemployment. And tonight I'm going to add something called inflation. So as far as in December, 59 houses were sold in Galt. The median price of those sales were $523,250. So pretty close to $525,000. Last year at this time was $449,500. So that indicates a 16.4% increase. And in comparison, the county of Sacramento, their median price for December was $505,000. And last year was $430,000, which showed a 17.4% increase. So it's housing prices, we all know, are going up, and in December 16.4%. Unemployment, according to the EDD website, the unemployment in Galt is at 7.2% for ending December. Now, in comparison, the county was at 4.8. I'm not so sure that this number for Galt is completely accurate. I think it's a little high. I think they need to, honestly, I think they need to go back and recalculate. My estimate is somewhere around 5.9% maybe in Galt. So it just seemed like this was high in comparison to the county. Now, the other thing, inflation. If you watch any news reports, you'll notice that yes, from last year to this year, 2021, there's an increase of 7% inflation. That's a 39-year high, which is extremely significant. So what happens when you have high inflation is the Federal Reserve tries to hold that down. So what they do is they then will raise their federal funds rate. Now, everyone, we know that the Federal Reserve is going to raise the rate at least 25 basis points. I'm in the camp of where we're going to raise them they're going to raise it probably 50 basis points. And that's in March. And it's projected that they're going to have at least 4 to 6 more interest rates throughout this year. So you're going to see the Federal Reserve trying to be very proactive in trying to raise their federal funds rate. Now, what that means for us as home buyers is that means our mortgage rates are going to increase unless you've already fixed in your mortgage rate. So if you're trying to buy a new home, your interest rate is going to be a lot higher. Now, on the flip side, for investors like the city of Galt is, because we have some short-term cash that we can invest. So that means, again, higher interest rates. When I was here 6 months ago and I talked about the treasury yields as far as what you could get, for a 3-month, you could get 1 basis point, 1/100%. For 6 months, you could get 2 basis points. And for a year, treasury was 5 basis points. Well, the financial markets have already built in those Fed fund hikes. So right now, 3-month treasury is at 0.39. 6-month treasury is at 0.70, and a 1-year treasury you can get at 1.06. So what I'm doing right now is when I'm investing, I'm doing it very methodically as far as looking for very short-term investments. Right now, I'm not going out any more than 2 years. But what I'm doing is I'm looking for federal home loan bank bonds, that 2-year bond, but with a one-year call option that the Federal Home Loan Bank has. Now, so if they don't call that, then what happens is that interest rate then takes a step up. So for the remaining 1 year. Otherwise, if they do call it, which is fine, then I can take that money, we get our money back, and then I'll take it and then invest it at a higher rate as well. So right now, I'm just looking very short term with like a call option, but also with a step up option. So that seems to, because right now we have money in LAIF that is short term. LAIF's rate is rising, but not at a fast clip. That's why I'm now investing a lot more in Federal Home Loan Bank bonds. In the last 6 months, I've put in about $23 million in those bonds. So lastly, I just have to report on the amount of interest that we earned for the first 6 months of the fiscal year, which is dismal. I'll be right up front with you. It's $128,000 for the first 6 months. I do expect, I'm predicting for the full fiscal year, that's probably going to be around 350,000. And I think I kind of warned you of this last year at this time. So if you have any questions, I'll be more than happy to answer them. Otherwise, council members, I ask that you approve the treasurer's report as of December 2021. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Farrell. Yeah, I have actually a couple questions. So again, thank you for sharing all that helpful information, especially as it relates to the public at large. You have a way of making these financial reports actually rather interesting now. So I thank you for that. Your mention of the unemployment, I think that's weird because we actually have some information in our annual financial report this evening that talks about the Galt economy, and it references that we're at 7%, but it references that the Sacramento metropolitan area is at 6.9 as a whole. So we're just right on track with that. So that's weird how it's different than what you were showing. Question regarding the investment. So Forwell, knowing that, like, well, first of all, I heard they were talking about 3 or 4, 3 pretty much for sure, but possibly people are speculating with 4. You're talking 4 to 6 adjustments. So that's changed recently?
Yes. Yeah.
And so with that, do we, if they're basically saying we're for sure, like there's no speculation, we're for sure going to be between 4 and 6, does that not make people like wait on putting the money in so they lock? I mean, if you mentioned a 6-month bond or a 6-month term on at 0.70, I think. Do you then wait and say, okay, we're going to have for sure 3 more bumps? Do I wait and then put it in, or do I tie it up for 6 months? I mean, how do you strategize that?
Great question. And that's the reason why I'm doing it very I'll say slowly, methodically. I buy about a bond about every month. I buy about 1 to 2 bonds. So that way I'm kind of laddering the portfolio. And so it's kind of laddered out. So again, that's why I'm looking at the 2-year with a 1-year call and having it be a step up. So that way, like for instance, I just purchased one at 1% for the first year. Okay. And then if it gets called, fine, I'll just go ahead and invest it at then a higher rate in 1 year. Or if it does not get called, then it jumps to 2.1% for that remaining 1 year. So that way, whichever, we know the rates are going up. And so that's why I'm clearly not going out buying a 5-year bond. That's crazy at this point. So that's why I'm trying to keep it as short as possible. And strategically, that's the best thing to do, is just incrementally take those steps to get it out of LAIF and just incrementally just ladder it out.
Okay.
I'm hoping that answers your question.
It does. Thank you. I was just curious of the strategy. What thoughts would you have for those that might be watching as citizens regarding their homes? Of course, we know most people's major base investment is their home. Obviously, rates going up. If you're buying a house, obviously that's scary. But do you expect, like, what's the talk of how much that could cool the housing market? As we know, it's like red hot right now.
It will eventually cool the housing market. I don't think around here it's now well over 500,000, and I see that continuing on for about another 6 to 9 months. When the Federal Reserve puts in, like, say 3 or 4 rate increases, I think it will cool it down. And at that point, I also think the home prices will then drop a little bit. Again, my crystal ball is as fuzzy as yours, Mr. Mayor. So
I know, but
everyone has a theory.
Nobody wants to hear my opinion, because who am I? We want to hear from you people like you who are in the know. So, does any of the other council members have any questions for Mr. Farrell about his report? All right. I guess it was just me. Well, thank you again for your report, Mr. Farrell. We appreciate it. I'm going to need a motion. Actually, we're going to need public comment on this. Do we have any hands raised on this report?
No hands raised.
Okay. If you are watching on Zoom and you would like to raise your hand, or if you are on the phone and would like to press *9 to raise your hand, you may do so, and we will let you speak. I'll give you a few seconds to do that, should you want to speak. All right. Do we have any hands raised? No comments?
No comments.
All right. I'm looking for looking for a motion to approve the treasurer's report for the period ending December 2021.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lozano,
Seconded.
seconded by Councilmember Papineau. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau,
Aye.
Councilmember Vandenberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Farmer.
Aye. Report is approved 5-0.
Thank you very much.
Good evening, Sean. Thanks.
Okay.
All right, moving on to our next item from the city manager's office. The subject is going to be the coronavirus COVID-19 update. Mr. Hines.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Can everyone see that PowerPoint?
Yeah, sure.
Great, great, great. So let's see here. Hang on for a minute. So as we go into another week with COVID-19, the number of cases in Sacramento County and the number of cases here in the city of Galt continue to rise. However, they're rising somewhat slowly. So the number of cases here in Sac County has gone up 4% since our last meeting on February 1st. The number of deaths have also gone up 5%, or 141 individuals. The number of cases here in the city of Galt have gone up 4%, and the number of deaths in the city of Galt have gone up 5 or 7%. So the Sacramento County Public Health Update. And so our daily case rate is sitting at 38.2 per 100,000 in population. This is down from our last measurement at where it was at 115. It actually had gotten up into the 190s for a brief period of time. So it's good to see it ticking down to 38.2. Area hospitals currently have 412 is the number of individuals hospitalized with COVID-19. This is down from 595 hospitalized cases on February 1st. Our COVID-19 testing continues to be offered every Thursday here in the city of Galt at the Cibola Center. This Friday and Saturday, the Friday and Saturday testing site continues to be conducted by Curative. Residents can once again schedule appointments online at cur.tv/Galt. And here are some detail about our testing site numbers, featuring our total tests, total rapid tests, rapid positives, total PCR positives, and total positives, and the amount of tests that are still processing. So the fight still goes on. Effective January 6th, the Sacramento County Health Officer issued an order directing public boards, councils, commissions, and similar to conduct all meetings virtually. This was when the case rate was really escalating. To date, no change has been announced. However, I just recently, within the last 5 minutes, received an email from the county, and it looks like they will be rescinding the January 6th order at some point, first thing in the morning. And so if nothing else occurs, and it looks like our next council meeting will probably be in person. But I will confirm with the county, and I'll definitely let the council and the public know. The State Department of Public Health has updated the guidance relating to face coverings, and effective February 16th, only unvaccinated individuals are required to wear face coverings in indoor public settings. And so that's the State Department of Public Health. And Mr. Mayor, that concludes the COVID-19 update for this week.
Okay, thank you, sir. We need to take a quick pause for a moment here. If somebody could bear with me for a sec here. I apologize, everyone. I have Tina checking on a technical issue at the moment. Everybody be patient for a moment here while they check into that.
I have a quick,
Go ahead, Mr. Vandenberg.
on one of the slides, it mentioned that the area hospitals have 412 individuals in the hospital, although not necessarily hospitalized because of COVID. There's no tracking of the difference.
Apparently not.
Okay, thank you, sir. Mr. Hines, I'm not sure if Tina shared with you, we're still checking on that technical issue.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure. We'll just sit tight and wait for it all to get ironed out.
I'm checking.
Okay, thank you.
One more minute.
Okay.
Okay, I apologize. There is a technical difficulty, so we have to let the residents who are in the watching the meeting in the actual Zoom meeting. But members of the public, please remember you are going to be part of the live meeting, to keep yourself on mute and to please raise your hand if you have a question.
Okay, yeah, I just got a text from our city attorney. So we had a technical difficulty. It was not allowing some participants to speak during the public comment period earlier. So what we are going to do is, before we move on to the next item, we are going to open a public comment period, which we normally have in the beginning of the meeting to allow for any public who wish to speak on any non-agenda item or any of the items that we've since covered, which was our consent calendar and our treasurer's report. So if you are watching, you would like to raise your hand on Zoom, you may do so. If you would like to press *9, if you're on the telephone, you can speak that way. I'll give you time to do so if you wish. All right, do we have any hands raised on Zoom, Tina?
None right now.
Okay. I'm going to wait about 30 more seconds. Again, for any participants on Zoom that would like to speak, you can raise your hand. If you are watching, though, please, reminder to keep your microphone muted, please.
And Mr. Mayor, if I may, would you also keep your video off until it's time for you to speak?
Correct. So for the citizens that are watching, please, again, microphones muted, video off, please, if you are viewing the meeting right now. Do we have any hands raised, Tina?
Not at this time.
Okay. All right, well, now going to end the public comment period, and we will move on to item 3, which is going to be the annual comprehensive financial report. Mr. Hines?
Mr. Mayor, there are a couple of folks who are still connecting to audio, and I would recommend we extend the public comment period a couple more minutes until everybody's connected.
Okay, I'm going to extend the period for 2 minutes So again, public comment period, excuse me, public comment period is open. Should you want to raise your hand on Zoom, you may do so. Tina, can you verify with Metro Cable that we are still broadcasting?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're about 30 seconds out from ending our public comment period.
And yes, we are still live.
Okay, thank you. All right, do we have any hands raised on Zoom for public comment? Tina, do we have any hands raised online for public comment?
I do not see any hands raised.
Okay, we're now going to end the public comment period, and we are proceeding with our next agenda item, which is our annual comprehensive financial report. Mr. Hines, go ahead.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So for the folks watching, I am going to just give a general overview that gives a sense of where the city is, how this audit went. I'm not going to go into the nitty-gritty details of this 150-page document. If you do have questions, specific questions, me and my staff are available to chat with you about the document and the results of this, the results of operations for June 30, 2021. So I'm going to present the annual comprehensive financial report as of June 30, 2021 for an overview. So for the folks, and I'm going to gear this for the folks watching at home that may not be familiar with what we have to do to issue city financial statements. So for those folks who are familiar with the process, please bear with me. We have to make sure that everybody comes along and understands this process. So our city auditors are Lance Sull and Lunhart, limited liability or limited partnership. They are our city auditors. They audit our books every year. And for this particular year, they've given us an unmodified or clean opinion. In a sense, it's in their opinion, the financial statements referred to above, and we're talking about the statements in the ACFR, present fairly in all material respects the respective financial position of governmental activities, business type activities, and each major fund. And so this statement sits in the auditor's letter, which is early in the annual financial statement document. In another document, it's called an internal control memo, which is also attached to this council item. There is a document which lays out the one finding that the auditors had. And so the finding was basically that our year-end accruals, meaning the year-end as of June 30, 2021, were not complete. And so there were some liabilities and expenses that were attributed to the 2021 fiscal year that wound up in the 21-22 fiscal year. And so working with the auditors and our staff, we were able to correct that and get these statements to where they need to be. And hence why we got the unmodified opinion. But we also have to report the things that the auditors found. That is the only finding that we have. There was a consistent finding regarding bank statements that, as you can see, that finding isn't here. And so that's been corrected. And so I'm very happy to see that. This finding that we have here, we've already corrected it. Our comments are in the internal control memo. We've already put procedures in place, so this doesn't happen again. And so I'm going to approach the statements. We're going to talk about the government-wide statements. And basically what we're able to do is put together a balance sheet and an income statement that reflects all the funds here in state government, both our governmental funds and our business type funds. And so for the government-wide statements, our total assets increased by about 6.5 million year over from the prior year. And our liabilities actually decreased by 437,000 year over. So everything is trending the right way. So if our government-wide statement of activities, which is essentially our government-wide income statement. And by the way, the last numbers that I read were from our government-wide balance sheet, for those of you familiar with those terms. But for our government-wide income statements, our revenue increase, our revenues government-wide increased about 4.4 million or 10.2%. And our expenditures decreased at about 2.8% or about 1.1 million. So we were pretty happy to see that. Some of the highlights as far as our revenue increases were our charges for services, which includes our licenses and permits and the fees, fines, and penalties. We found that the impact fees related to construction were driving this number. We also saw that our sales tax increased by about 18.7%. A lot of that has to do with COVID. And we saw the sales in the auto and transportation sector skyrocket. We saw sales, we saw activity in the construction area also go up, and also with restaurants and businesses. It ticked up quite a bit at the end of the fiscal year last year, which is also coincides when some of the COVID regulations subsided. And so basically we were in the middle of a bit of a spending frenzy once everybody was able to get out of the house. So overall, from a government-wide perspective, our net position, which means our assets minus liabilities, our revenues minus our expenditures, increased by $8.4 million. And I'm down here, that's this very last bullet. So we had a 4% increase over last year. And so our net position went from roughly $209 million. I'm sorry, 209. I have to $209 million versus, and it ticked up to $217 million. So now that we're done with the government-wide statements, again, that includes all funds, both governmental funds and business type funds. Now I'm going to narrow it down to just 3 funds that seem to get the most attention here in the city of Galt. That's the General Fund, Parks and Rec Fund, and we're going to talk a little bit about Measure Art. And so with the General Fund, our revenues from last year were about 14.291 million. 14.3 million. And then our general fund expenditures were 12.8 million, which were less than budget by about 18%. So our revenues were pretty much right on target. We were only under by about 53,000. The expenses we came in under budget by about 18%. And we also had transfers that came into the general fund. And so those net transfers are about 2.3 million. And so the general fund balance increased by 3.8 million and now sits at 14.1 million. And we were sitting at 10 million 3, and now we're sitting at 14.1. So everything is trending the right way. So now that we're done with the general fund, I'm just going to show you a little bit about the Parks and Rec fund. And I wanted, while the statements for the Parks and Recreation Fund are in the body of the document, we decided to break this out, and you'll find this in the management discussion and analysis section of the document. But I wanted, as you read this document, read the right column first. So you're reading from right to left, and you see those totals, and you'll be able to match those totals to the fund income statement that you find in the body of the report. But what this document does is shows you how those revenues are made up of, how they're made up. In other words, there are revenues coming from our parks and recreation programs, and there are revenues coming from the Galt market. You also see here how much the Galt market contributes to Parks and Recreation's operations in order to keep that going. You also see a contribution here from the general fund. So everything's transparent. You see what goes into the Parks Fund. You also see the expenditures, which is that middle line there. It says bold. Over here on the right side, it says 2.338 million, and you see how that's broken out. In addition to that, you see how our essential service costs are calculated, the proceeds from the sale of assets, and then there was a direct payroll transfer out. And all of this ties to the fund income statement that you'll see in the body of this report. The one thing that a couple of things I wanted to mention regarding the Parks and Recreation Fund is that the total revenues increased by $399,000 over the prior year. That was driven mainly by the increase in the Galt market revenues. So we were fortunate enough to see an increase in Galt market revenues of almost $500,000 last year. And again, I believe all of this is COVID related, and the fact that we were locked up during most of 2020, and then come at the beginning of 2021, there was some measure of freedom, and so we all were able to get out and spend some time shopping, and that's why we're seeing these increases in sales tax and various other things. The total expenses for the Parks and Recreation Fund decreased by about $526,000, or about 18%, due to some expenditure cuts that we had to make. And there's also a frozen position there as well. And so that's the way the Parks Fund sits. I'll go back up to this fund. And as you can see, the fund balance for this fund sits at $200,458. And then a quick word about Measure R. The fund balance for Measure R did go up by $419,000 year over. And this was mainly due to increased revenues. And again, there's that COVID impact that I mentioned earlier. The revenues in this fund are driven by sales taxes. And so I'm not surprised to see that 456. Expenditures also ticked up just a little bit at 32,000 year over. And I'd like to thank these individuals who worked long hours, weekends, overtime to pull this 150-page document together. For those of you who have reviewed this document, you will see that it's pretty dense when it comes to reporting our financial position. There is a lot of information. There's a lot of numbers in there. There's a lot of calculations that have to be right. And these are the folks that I have to thank: Cindy Nguyen, Carlos Solario, Laura Ann St. Clair, Carly Saunders, Nancy Rocha, Antonio Rodriguez. An outstanding group of folks who were able to pull this document together. I am so proud to be associated with them, and hats off to them for their good work. And as you can see, the auditors were happy with the work because we got the unmodified opinion. And so a city council, a mayor and city council, I present to you the annual comprehensive financial report and ask that you adopt this report and the attached documents going forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Let me expand my view here so I can see everybody. Okay, I'll start it off. Well, first of all, I'm going to open the public comment period. I will call on public comment right off, but just want to remind everybody that you can raise your hand for public comment. I will check in on that as we go through our council comments on this particular item. So, Mr. Hines, quick question. Could you go to the first, the second slide or the first slide that you showed? I had a question, and I thank you for getting back to me on that email I sent you this morning.
I'm getting there.
Okay, if it's difficult, I can probably do without it, but it would be helpful.
Okay, hang on for a minute.
Sure. Mr. Wenzel, if you want to turn your video off and until you would like to make a comment, then I'll call on you at that time. Thank you, sir. Yeah, so my question, Mr. Hines, is the first paragraph says total assets increased by 6.4 million. And it says due to assets of cash investments and a decreased value of capital assets. So the decreased value of capital assets. So I know capital assets can be land or property, or they can also be like, you know, trucks and furniture and machinery or whatever the city owns. I assume I'm just asking this so you can verify that I'm reading this correctly. The decreased value of capital assets. So obviously trucks devalue, equipment can devalue on that stuff, but does this factor in? I'm sure it does, or assume it does. Does this factor in the increased value of like land holdings that the city would have? I mean, obviously those probably haven't devalued, but they probably increased in value.
Well, yeah, we typically report land at the purchase price, and we typically don't report the increase in value.
Okay, makes sense. You'd have to get it appraised. I'm just trying to understand the asset thing. That's why my email today about the assets. And could you tell me where it talks about total assets? Because I know in the sheets you gave us, it talks about what, you know, it defined assets going down, you know, money owed to us, receivables, cash investments, and so on and so forth. But it did not mention in that paragraph any property that the city owned under the asset, under the definition. It didn't list as a line item, but it does in fact, when you say assets in the sheet, it includes capital assets, which would include land and property.
Yes,
right?
that is correct. That is correct. It would include land in the government-wide statements.
In the government that position. Okay.
Okay, it would not include it in the governmental fund statements.
Okay, that's what I was thinking, but I just because the terminology with, you know, net capital assets and then just the word asset just generically, I was trying to understand which one. And then
and Mr. Mayor, I've got to say right now, for everybody to hear, governmental financial statements are confusing, and it is intended to be a document that is transparent, but because of the way it's structured, it's transparent to government accountants and the analysts at Moody's and Standard & Poor's. But for the normal run-of-the-mill citizen, this stuff gets very confusing, and that's why, you know, I always have a standard, you know, door open policy for anybody who wants to come in and learn about these things. I used to teach this stuff, so, you know, I'm always happy to do that. I'm going to introduce our new finance director later on. He's more than happy to chat with folks, and Cindy Nguyen and her crew are also willing to sit down with folks. So I just wanted to make that statement, Mayor. Okay.
And one other quick question, and I'm going to go on to, looks like Councilman Vandenberg. I'll call on you next. You have your hand up. Could you flip forward to a few slides ahead of this, the Parks and Rec snapshot screen, which shows the line item right there, that screen. And correct me if I'm mistaken on this, but I just was struggling to kind of understand something on here. So if you look at the second column under the market and you go down, it has the $1.185 million and it's in parentheses.
Yes.
So it's in parentheses because that's a withdrawal. That's not an and that's, it's an expense. That money came out and went over to right to the left where you see it, where it's not in parentheses, is that money went from the market to that. Is that correct?
You got it. You got it, Mayor. Yes.
Okay, so with that being said, the number in the parentheses is a deduction.
Mhm.
Then why, when you go down to where it says proceeds from sale of capital assets and it has $354,000 on both, well, in the one location and then over in the total, it has that in parentheses showing it as what I would assume would be a deduction, but it says proceeds. That's an addition, right?
Right, and I'll have to check into that because that's a transfer of some kind, and I've got to look at that.
I believe that 354, if the number strikes me, remember, I believe that was the sale of the property that belonged to Parks and Recreation over there. So again, I'm just trying to understand, simple accounting, when something's in parentheses, it's a deduction, not an addition. And so furthermore, central service cost of $644,000, that is not an addition. That's also a deduction. So I would assume that should be, so these are just clerical errors with the parentheses, you think?
No, we have to report this in a certain form.
Okay.
And so we attempted to, give the public a sense of, here's how the Parks and Recreation Fund and its interaction with, and I'm scrolling to this fund in the financial statement, by the way.
I mean, the math is all right. I mean, but it's just, when I see something, usually when I'm looking at financial forms, if I see something in a parentheses, it's a deduction, not an addition. So that threw me.
Yeah, so this is basically a restatement of what the reader will find on PDF page 49. And if you go to the document page 32. And so this was our attempt to basically take the information from those two pages and put it in a format that folks hopefully can understand. And if it's not something that's creating more confusion than we intended, then we'll look at this statement next year and we'll revamp it. But in this particular case, if you look at the statement on the page, you'll see the 652, which is at 644 and at 8346 is actually a transfer out to another fund. The 354 is actually proceeds from the sale of a capital asset, which you said, and that is actually a transfer, or that is actually to the good, to the fund. So yeah, I think we just characterized this and wanted to differentiate these things.
Okay, thank you for that. Councilman Vandenberg, go ahead. You have your hand up.
Thank you, Mayor. I think to the last point, if you look at the heading, it says expenditures. So it's kind of a double reverse because it's an expenditure. If there was a positive number, that would be spending, but because it's an added bonus, they put it as a negative. So it calculates opposite of the other numbers that are under the expenditure category. That might be a little convoluted, but that's how I read it. But
right,
I just wanted to say that, I spent like 16 hours looking over pretty much every single page of this, and the city manager and the new Matthew.
Finance director.
Finance director, thank you, sir. Finance director were kind enough to spend a couple of hours with me answering a multitude of questions. And it is quite confusing, but you really have to pay attention to the language and kind of change your thought process to accounting. They answered pretty much every question I had. Thank you again for all your efforts. It is a lot of information. And I'm quite satisfied with what I saw. That's all I have, sir.
Thank you, Councilmember. Thank you. We appreciate it. And the good thing is everything is going the right way.
Yeah, thank you for one last thing. Things are going the right way, and in a general sense, everybody watching should be a little cautious that next year won't or may not be as nice to us, because if people stayed home as they were supposed to, it's more likely they spent cash in town than they have in previous years. So I would appreciate it if our next year's budget was a little more conservative.
And Councilman, you hit it right on the head. That sales tax increase of 18.7%, we won't be projecting that next year. The increases that we saw in Measure R, we won't be projecting that in next year. We realize those are sort of anomalies. And while we're thankful for them this year, we will not be building them into our long-term forecast. So you also hit it right on the head, sir. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think Galt is very fortunate as opposed to cities that rely on tourism. We don't rely on that, so we didn't get hit hard in that area. And that was happened to be very beneficial for us. Other coastal cities that rely on, they are not I'm pretty sure they're not looking at financial statements that were this beneficial.
That is correct.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, Mr. Vice Mayor, you have your hand up.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. First of all, thank you, Mr. Hines, this report, and thank you for your staff spending a lot of time in this lengthy report. You know, I go through that report, I spend a couple hours. The only thing I may happy on see that on the general fund and all over, we are doing a right direction. You know, on the general fund, we have a revenue around 14 million, right? It was less than expected. It's very like in 53,000, less than that, right?
Yes.
Okay, and these revenue, where is the revenue? Just very basic, where is it coming from? Just for the information.
Sure. Let me go to, and I'm going to call the pages out in case folks are watching.
Page 12, sir, would be the one that would, the graph.
Got it. Got it. So, Mayor, I'm actually going to go to page 17 of the PDF. That provides a little more clarity regarding our revenues. And so, Vice Mayor Sandhu, we're looking at, again, I'm on page 17 of the document, page 34 of the PDF. We're looking at taxes, licenses and permits. We're looking at intergovernmental dollars that we're getting from other governments, charges for services. These are all the things we charge for, again, the impact fees, the fines, speeding tickets, that all finds its way into charges for services. We have investment earnings, and you can see with investment earnings, we did not do as well. And I think the treasurer hit on those things earlier as to why. We've got a category specifically for fines, forfeitures, and penalties. And so those are just some of the major issues, but major revenue streams. But for Galt, the thing that drives our revenues, the straw that stirs the drink, are property taxes and sales taxes. And so we have a consultant that helps us with both of those streams and those projections because they are so important to us.
Thank you, sir. And then next is not a question, just for a clarification. You know, our expenses go down about almost 18.4%, right?
Yes.
And what is generally why is expensive? What do we do extra than last year, or what happened?
Well, I think it's a combination of a few things. I think first of all, hats off to the executive team, all the folks that are on this call. They did a good job of holding down expenditures because we were in a fiscal year that had this cloud of COVID over us. And so we, like all other governments, didn't know what the impact was going to be on the revenue side. And so we as a group took a very conservative approach when it came to spending. Something that we could put off for another day, we put off for another day. And so we stayed true to make sure that we came under budget. The other thing that we're seeing here is there were 6 or 7 frozen positions placed in this budget. And so it sat in our non-departmental. And because those positions were frozen, yet they stayed in the budget, we were going to automatically see those savings. And I think it's about $789,000. So we've got that combined with staff's effort to keep keep the expenses down. And hats off to the executive team that's on this call. We came in under budget by 18%, and it's a COVID year, and we responded. We will do in future years to make sure that we budget a little more closely, because I think 2.9 million is a lot to give back. So I want to make sure that in the future that our budgets mirror our actual need, and if we need more, then we will come back to council and ask for more authority. But this is a tribute to a great team of executives that you see on this call.
Oh, thank you, sir, and thank you for your staff. That's why, expenses down is good thing. So we are in a positive direction. The other thing on the report, on the general fund, we subsidy to Parks and Rec and also light and landscaping. That's it, 209,000, right?
I will have to double check on that. Yeah.
Okay, give me back later on. That's okay. I just want to make sure how much we subsidy to the Parks and Rec and how much subsidy we do light and landscaping.
Okay.
And the last, just the information, there is only one thing I believe on the report. They mentioned something. One only deficiencies. Invoices are not properly accrued to the correct fiscal year, and I believe that's the same thing it was last year too. So I know you're going to take care. Could you might be brief what kind of process you're going to put so it won't happen again?
Okay. So first of all, let me let everyone know this is a brand new finding. And so the finding that we had last year was related to a consistent reconciliation and timely reconciliation of bank statements. And so that first name that you saw on that list of folks that we thanked, Cindy Nguyen, made pretty sure that was her mission, to make sure that those statements were reconciled in a timely manner. She was not going to have that finding anymore. And so she made sure it disappeared. And so the finding that we have is essentially we have invoices that have come in, and those invoices were supposed to be credited, or those expenditures were supposed to be placed in the 2021 fiscal year. Somehow they ended up in the 21-22 fiscal year. We found it, the auditors found it, we agreed. And so what we're going to do is make sure that all of the invoices that come in at the end of the year are properly accounted for. If we have payables that are due at the end of the year, we're going to make sure that all of those invoices, related invoices, are also accounted for. And we're just going to be vigilant about making sure that everything that's in this fiscal year is accounted for in the fiscal year. Cindy and her staff will also put procedures in place to make sure that these invoices are taken care of as well. So
right.
we've got a lot of things going on.
I trust you and all your staff. Thank you, sir.
Sure.
And that's all, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. I'm gonna, Mr. Papineau, before you speak, I just want to remind the public, if anybody wants to make a public comment, go ahead and raise your hand, and I will call on you if I see a hand raised. Go ahead, Mr. Papineau.
Well, first off, thanks to City Manager Hines and all of the staff, not only for this great report, but for spending the time to kind of explain it to us, present it to us prior to the meeting. It's greatly appreciated. As I looked through it, this is more of an observation than a question. It was trying to pin cause and effect to the various increases and decreases. And, correct me if I'm wrong, but my observations were that we've had a lot of things going on at once, as previously mentioned, the COVID recovery. But in addition to that, we've kind of changed and streamlined a lot of city operations, and I think discovered some new efficiencies. Mm-hmm. So, I was just trying to put all that together. And then beyond that, to kind of echo Councilmember Vandenberg, trying to project the future in light of further COVID recovery, continuing out these new efficiencies and kind of streamlining the way we do business. And then add into that inflation, as we talked about with the treasurer, and interest rate fluctuations and so forth. So yeah, I would echo the caution and the appreciation for the expertise that we have in place to try to plan for a whole lot of unknowns going forward. So that's my comments and observations. And once again, thank you to you and the staff.
Thank you, Councilman. I would like to, and I appreciate those words. I would like to say that when it comes to building our future forecast for revenues, knowing that these anomalies are there, most likely we will rely a little more heavily on what happened in 17, 18, and 19, and considering maybe first half of 20. And that becomes the basis of whatever linear regression we start to use for forecasting. I don't know if we can rely much on what we see in 20 and 21.
Right. Thanks.
All right. Just real quick, Mr. Lozano, bear with me. Do we have any, I don't see any hands raised. Can you verify that, Tina? Do we have any public comment?
No other hands raised.
Okay, just want to make sure I'm not missing anybody. Okay, Councilman Lozano, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I won't go too long. I appreciate staff's work on this and certainly the time Mr. Hines and staff has spent with me kind of going over the new and improved way that we look at these, right? So I really appreciate that. It's nice to see the monthly bank statement issue is resolved and our auditors are happy with it. A lot of my questions were answered already, and but I appreciate the way that our staff has really tightened the belt, and to the points that were made earlier about streamlining operations and really trying to do what we can to spend taxpayer money wisely as in these times that are uncertain. I think that we've done well for ourselves here, and so I say we just because we're part of the city, but it's certainly the staff and the finance staff and budget staff. I too would be interested in seeing the hard numbers for the subsidy to both L&L and Parks and Rec as well. And then I also had procedures questions about the one finding this year. So again, I won't go too long, but I appreciate the work, appreciate all the time you have spent with us ahead of time and sending the emails and getting clarification for us ahead of the meeting. It's greatly appreciated. So thank you so much. Thank you, and welcome to Matt Boring, who I understand started this week. So nothing like jumping right out of the frying pan into the fire. So good work, and we will look forward to a prosperous year, but cautious, right? So thanks.
All right, thank you, Mr. Lozano. I had a kind of a question that kind of came up. I think maybe not last year, Mr. Hines, when you were here, but maybe the year before when we were looking over the financial report. And I just thought it come up, and so I thought I would just resurrect it a little bit just for clarification to the public. There was talk in recent years about how often the city, I know LSL has been doing our audits for a while, and this is not indicative of their performance whatsoever. I just want to make that clear. But there's been some talk about how it's sometimes healthy for cities to so many years go with a different auditing company to be more neutral, so we don't just getting a whatever. So my question is twofold. One, how long have we been using LSL to your knowledge? And two, what is the common practice with municipalities on the length of time that they do use one auditing company? I'm just curious of what other people do. Do you have any insight on that?
Well, it's been a while since I visited that particular topic. I know LSL has done at least 2 audits for us because I've been here for those 2 audits. I think it's somewhere between 3 and 5 years that there is usually a switch in the audit firm. I'll have to take a look at what the government accounting standards are, and I have to take a look at what our policy is here at the city of Galt, and I can come back to you with, oh, I just got a text. Every 5 years, we have to go to a new firm.
Okay. And so I know that I think, if I'm not mistaken, they came with us the first year I was in office, so that's 19. So this will be the 3rd year. So again, this has nothing to do with the.
Oh, no, they understand.
Report, but yeah.
They understand, because what'll happen is there are a bunch of other cities out there that are rotating. They're rotating their auditors off, and LSL just merely fills that slot.
Yeah. So that was really only my question. Actually, well, I had another one, but it actually is not that urgent right now. But I do wanted to thank. So since we were thanking some people, I want to thank the staff for preparing this, making it kind of simple to understand, if that's even possible with municipal finance, making it easier to understand, I guess. Obviously, a 167-page document. I spent a lot more time in certain pieces of it than others. Tried to take as many notes as possible, but I'm generally happy with what I see. Unfortunately, sometimes a crisis can be weird for cities. Wars can boost economies. I mean, it's like, sometimes crisis, is beneficial in some ways. Unfortunately, I hate to say that, but what we've been going through. But I want to thank the staff that was involved in this. Thank you, Mr. Hines, for preparing this. But I also too think it's only fair to duly note and give some thanks to some of our finance staff that are maybe not here anymore as well, because we went through some massive budget stuff. Rich and I and Paul did before we first come on in 18 under our previous city manager leadership. We made a lot of massive budget cuts and unpopular decisions that affected the community in a lot of ways, to prepare for what ended up maybe being not as as detrimental to us. So we prepared for the worst and hope for the best. And so I want to thank the previous people that are no longer here anymore for the legwork and stuff that they did, and helping the council make those tough decisions back in 18 and 19 with our financial situation to get us on the right track. And then of course the current staff we have now for continuing those efforts. So I wanted to make sure that I mentioned those people. And again, and thank you, or not thank you, but welcome Mr. Boring to your new position as finance director. And with that, I don't have any other comments at this time. If there is any public comment, you may please raise your hand. Tina, do we have any hands raised that I'm not seeing?
There are no hands raised.
Okay. So again, if you would like to speak on this topic, I'm gonna give you a few moments to raise your hand, or if you're on the phone, you can press *9, and I'm going to be closing the public comment on this item shortly. Ms. Van Stein, you have your hand up?
No, I don't think. She may have just inadvertently hit the button.
Okay. All right. Okay. Well, if we have any other, if we don't have any further, excuse me, comments from council, and I don't see any hands raised, so I'm going to, Ms. Van Stein, you do have your hand up. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, I didn't mean to do that.
All right. All right. I'm going to be closing the public comment. Actually, Mr. Splendario, you have your hand up.
I do?
Well, you did. It went away. Sorry. All right.
Sorry. Mayor, I promise
Sorry
you there
about
are no practical jokes going on right
All
now.
right. Well, Ms. Van Stein's hands up again, but just speak up if you have something to say. But luckily, we're on our way out of this Zoom thing. So,
Yes.
all right. So I'm closing public comment on this item, and so do I need recommended action here? We don't need. Do we need a motion to accept it? Are we accepting this as an action? I don't see anything as an
Yeah,
action.
you're accepting this document as well as the other documents that are attached to the staff report.
Okay, well, it looks like that's missing from my agenda.
No,
Strange.
it's on the recommended action.
Yeah, mine's blank. Weird. Okay.
That's probably from the review one. Do you want me,
You're correct. It is in fact. Okay.
do you want me to read it or?
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Okay, accept by motion the City of Galt Annual Comprehensive Financial Report for the fiscal year ended June 30th, 2021, memorandum on internal control and require communications for the year ended June 30th, 2021, independent accountant's report on compliance with the Proposition 111-2020-21 appropriations limit increment and independent auditors report on compliance with applicable requirement and on internal control over compliance regarding AB 3773.
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Councilmember Lozano, seconded by Councilman Vandenberg. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau,
Aye.
Councilmember Vandenberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Farmer.
Aye. Report accepted 5-0. Okay, moving on. Our next item is going to be coming from the Finance Department. Subject is going to be, we're on item 4 for those of you that are following along. Receive and file Assembly Bill 1600 fees for development projects. Mr. Hines?
Yes, and Mr. Mayor, I'm going to harken back to our last item. We have 1 year left with LSL, our current auditors.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure you had that information. So as my last act as acting finance director here for the city of Galt, in addition to being city manager, I'm going to present the AB 1600 report to council. So California Government Code, as amended by various Senate bills, require each local agency that imposes Assembly Bill 1600 development impact fees to prepare an annual report providing specific information about those fees. In our city, development impact fees are collected at the time a building permit is issued for the purposes of mitigating the impacts caused by new development on city infrastructure. Fees are used to finance the acquisition, construction, and improvement of public facilities needed as a result of the new development. State law requires the city to prepare and make available to the public this report within 180 days after the last fiscal year. The city council must receive the annual report at a regularly scheduled public meeting, not less than 15 days after the information is made available to the public. This report was filed with the city clerk and it was available for public review on December 20th, 21. So yes, this report is just a smidge late, but we wanted to get it in front of you and so you could receive and so we could file this report. This report lays out to the public and to the folks who are driving development projects what we're doing with those impact fees. And so what you'll see here in the attached report is just a formal report laying out exactly the type of fees, how they were generated, and we also have a CIP schedule, which lays or a capital improvement schedule, which lays out how those fees are being used. And so, Mr. Mayor, I ask for acceptance of this report so we can file it for this year. And we will be more timely with it next year.
Okay. I'm going to open public comment on this particular agenda item. If you have a comment on this, please raise your hand on Zoom or press *9 if you are on the phone. Do we have any comments from council on this particular item? Okay, I see no comments from council. Do we have any public comment on this item, Tina?
No hands raised.
Okay. And I will be looking for actually, I'm going to close the comment period for this item, and I'll be looking for a motion to receive and file development impact fee report for fiscal year ending June 30th, 2021, annual report in accordance with Assembly Bill 1600 and California Government Code.
Moved.
Moved by Vice Mayor Sandu,
Seconded.
seconded by Councilmember Papineau. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau,
Aye.
Councilmember Vandenberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Farmer.
Aye. Approved 5-0. Next item is going to be from our Public Works Department, item 5. Subject is going to be the resolution authorizing the execution of a cost-sharing agreement not to exceed $200,000 with Sacramento County for Cherokee Lane Improvements CIP 571 or 57I, I guess it is. I think that's correct. Authorizing change order authority within cost-sharing amount and acceptance of project to Public Works Director. Mr. Selling?
Hi, good evening, Mayor and council members. Mike Selling for Public Works. Yeah, it is 57I, just to clarify for the project CIP number. So this is a cost sharing agreement between Sacramento County and the city of Galt. On occasion, the county does road improvement projects that touch on the city limits. And the way that city limits are set when annexations occur is they are typically where it's at a public roadway. The roadway is split in half. So one half, whether it's north or south or east or west, would go to the county, would remain in the county, and the other half is what is annexed into the city. And so with the Eastview or Liberty Ranch annexation that occurred, a portion of Cherokee Lane was split down the middle. And this portion really is from the railroad tracks north to Twin Cities Road. The west half of that section, it's about a half mile in length, remains in the city from the annexation, and the east half remains in the county. The county's project is resurfacing a number of roadways and repairing these roadways. I think it's about a $6+ million project. So there are several roadway segments, one of which is Cherokee Lane from Twin Cities Road all the way down south to Bosau. So this cost sharing agreement is for the city's half mile portion, as I described, for the city to participate and essentially pay for the county's contractor to repair our section of roadway. Couple of thoughts on this is and why we're recommending the city enter this agreement. As I think you're all aware, the Eastview or Liberty Ranch project has been kind of lingering around for a number of years, and we don't know, how fast that's going to develop at this point. The roadway is in moderately poor condition, and we would probably have to do a significant project on our own in, I'd say, 2 to 3 years' time, which would probably, cost us for the engineering and just the mobilization, the contractor, the work, and not knowing what the additional costs or cost increases would be at that point, a couple, 2, 3 years in the future. This is a much more cost-effective option for us. So the county opened bids last week, and the city's share, while their estimate, I think, had it around $170-some thousand, it's gone up a bit, but it's still a very, cost-effective option for the city. So staff is recommending the council approve entering the cost-sharing agreement. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Selling. Do we have any comments from council for Mr. Selling? Questions? I don't see any. I'm going to go ahead and open the public comment on this particular item. So if you would like to speak on this particular item, please raise your hand on Zoom or press *9 if you are on the telephone. Mr. Lozano, go ahead.
Yeah, I've driven out Cherokee quite a bit out in that stretch, and you're right, it could use a lot of help. So I'm glad to see that's coming along. I think this is a great opportunity for us as a city to partner with the county on a project that we're going to probably have to do anyway, eventually, sooner than later, probably. You're saying 2 to 3 years. I probably sooner than that, but so thank you so much for this. I say, let's let the county take the lead on it and help us out, and we will we'll join them. So that I'm full support of it.
All right, thank you, sir. I have a question, Mr. Selling. Is the county going to help us address the intersection at Cherokee and Twin Cities as part of this, or is that not going down that far? Because I know that's a terrible intersection.
This is just a road resurfacing project, and because Twin Cities is a state highway there, so Caltrans actually has control over the intersection, which basically means a few hundred feet in any direction for signage, striping, and that kind of thing. They don't have jurisdiction for the pavement condition, which the county will address in this project, though. So just to clarify that, there's no improvement, and I'm not sure what you're referring to, like maybe an all-way stop control or signal or something like that, but nothing like that in this project.
Yeah, it has that, has that S, right? And it's really, and then Cherokee kind of teasing it. I think there was an accident, actually, if I'm not mistaken, there was a really bad accident there just recently.
Yes.
It's a dangerous intersection because people are speeding through there, and then it's weird the way it intersects. So I just thought of it when you were talking.
Yeah, no, you're correct. There was a bad accident there recently. Yeah. But that would fall to Caltrans to make any improvements to that intersection.
Okay. All right. Vice Mayor, you have a question?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Especially with the partnership with the county is good. I can support this, but the only thing I have Mr. Selling give me earlier, I talked to him and he gave all the question of what my concern was. The only thing I just want a clarification on that, when we're looking at the estimate, it from Coegal to Twin City, but did we annex to up to all the Coegal, but we have annex only up to railroad tracks, right? But we
we've annexed to the railroad tracks, correct? Yeah, I think that's a rough description, yes.
Okay, so this estimate from up to Coegal, so that's actually that estimate by mistake should be up to railroad track, right?
Yeah, it's for only the city annexed portion, correct?
All right, thank you. That's for just clarification. Thank you. I will support that.
Okay, so then my question, actually, I was mistaken. So that little corner there actually isn't part of our annexation anyways, where it gets near the intersection, right, Mike?
The intersection at Twin Cities, are you referring to, Mayor?
Yeah, if you're saying we only annexed up to the railroad tracks, then that wouldn't include that corner that touches that intersection anyways.
Well, it's from the railroad tracks north to Twin Cities, so it does. Yeah, we've got kind of that little piece on it.
Okay.
Yeah, the southwest quadrant, if you will.
Got it. Okay, thank you. Mr. Sandu, you have your hand up still. Do you another question?
No, thank you, sir.
Do you have any hands raised on this item for public comment? I don't see any. Tina, do you see any?
No hands raised.
Okay. All right. Well, if I have no further questions from council and no hands raised from the public, I will go ahead and close the public comment period for this particular item, and I will be looking for a motion to adopt a resolution to authorize the city manager to execute a cost sharing agreement with the County of Sacramento in the amount not to exceed $200,000 for the construction of the Cherokee Lane Improvement Project, Capital Improvement Project CPI 57I, and 2, authorizing the Public Works Director to execute contract change orders within the approved agreement amount, and 3, authorizing the Public Works Director to accept the improvements and issue a notice of completion upon satisfactory completion of the work.
So moved.
Moved by Councilmember Lozano.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Vandenberg. Can I have a roll call, please?
Vice Mayor Sandu,
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau,
Aye.
Councilmember Vandenberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Farmer.
Aye. Resolution is passed 5-0. Moving on to item I, communication. Do we have any communication this evening?
None this evening.
All right. Moving on to item J, city clerk's report. Subject is going to be introduced by title only and waive the first reading of ordinance, excuse me, of ordinance to amend section 2.95.050 of the Galt Municipal Code regarding the appointments to the Public Safety Committee. Tina?
Okay, so on December 21st, 2021, City Council asked to bring back for discussion, changing the terms of having 2 voting city council members to 1 non-voting city council member on the Public Safety Committee. The change would allow for consistency with having non-voting council members representing local committees and commissions, including the Galt Youth Commission, which allows for 1 non-voting city council member acting as a liaison to the commission. This change reduces the total committee to 10 instead of 11 and changes the total voting and non-voting members to 5 each. Do you have any questions regarding the change?
Not regarding the change, but will we, will we, when will we be making a decision on which the vice mayor and I are both part of that? And so-
So this is the first item. So if you do approve this, next meeting, we'll have an agenda report to adopt the ordinance. And then right after that, we'll make a selection, have an agenda report for the selection of a committee member.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Lozano, you have a question?
And I read through this, it looks like exactly what we discussed in our meeting, and I just wanted to check with the mayor and vice mayor to ensure that as the 2 sitting members, that this is accurately reflects what you guys are thinking as well.
I believe it does, yes, on my behalf, yes. Mr. Sandhu?
Yes, I'm absolutely agree with that. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we want it to be consistent with we don't want to have different commissions having different whatever, so this is some good housekeeping on our behalf, so yes.
Okay, so you would just need to make a motion pass and then we'll bring back the adoption next meeting.
All right, looking for, actually, do we have public comment on this particular item? Again, if you would like to speak, raise your hand on Zoom, *9 on the telephone. Give you a few moments for anybody who wishes to do so. All right, I'm gonna close I don't see any hands. Do you, Tina?
No hands raised.
Okay, I'm gonna close the public comment period. I'll be looking for a motion to introduce by title only and waive the first reading of an ordinance of the City Council of the City of Galt, California, amending section 2.95.050 of the Galt Municipal Code regarding appointments to the Public Safety Committee. Moved by Councilman Lozano and
Second.
by Vice Mayor Sandhu. Have a roll call, please.
Vice Mayor Sandhu,
Aye.
Councilmember Papineau,
Aye.
Councilmember Vandenberg,
Aye.
Councilmember Lozano,
Aye.
Mayor Farmer.
Aye. Approved. 5-0. All right, moving on to item K, comments by staff. Mr. Hines.
All righty. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. I'd like to introduce Matthew Boring. Matt, if you can turn your camera and mic on. Matt is our new finance director. He started on Monday. Matt is an internal success story. He started with the city as an analyst, I believe back in 2012, and has essentially worked his way through the ranks in the finance department, and he is a homegrown success story within the finance group. So we're happy to have Matt on board and back. He left us for a little while, and now he's back, and so I'm tickled pink to have him here. And Matt, welcome aboard. And this is the Galt City Council. So just wanted to give you a chance to say hello.
Well, thanks for the introduction. I'm really excited to be back. I'm really excited. We have a great finance team that I've met so far. And I realized that the short time away was long enough to realize how much I miss working in Galt, but short enough that I still remember everything about working here. So.
Very good. Very good. So Matt, I know you're too new to have any thoughts or any comments for the council. So I'm not going to put you on the spot. So, but thank you. And so council members, that's Matt Boring. And for the public, that's Matt Boring. So if you have any questions about our finances, either see Matt first, or if you want to see me, that's fine too, or Cindy Nguyen. All right, Matt, I'll let you go.
All right, thank you.
So next up is I'm going to call on our economic development manager, Amy Mendez. And back on January 18th, council adopted the strategic plan. And one of the priorities in the strategic plan was maintain and improve Galt's quality of life. And number 9 under strategic tasks. As you can see, we're not, these numbers are just numbers. They're not priorities. But number 9 under the strategic task was to identify opportunities to engage more residents on existing social media platforms and explore opportunities for community engagement. So one of the main tools that we use for those functions is the city website. Our current website, let's just say, leaves a lot to be desired. And Economic Development Manager, Amy Mendez, has a solution that she's going to present to you all tonight.
Amy, excuse me before I interrupt you real quick. Could everybody please check their microphones? We have somebody with an open mic and it's cutting out. I see Craig, maybe your mic. There you go. And I think that might have been it. Okay, sorry, Amy, go ahead.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me okay?
Yes, ma'am.
Tina, will I have the ability to share my screen?
Let me change it because can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, it said I was muted. This thing tonight. Let me give you ability.
Okay. So while Tina works on that, just a quick update. I don't know how many of you know that we've been working on this, but
I just did it, Tina.
Okay, I got it. Yeah, it looks like it's working. Can everybody see this?
Yes.
So tomorrow we will be launching a new City of Galt website, and we've been working on this since August, I want to say. We have a committee that we put together from, I think there's one person from each department that's been involved in this. And this is not I shouldn't say a new website, but we've redesigned the website. We've tried to reorganize it so that information is organized a lot better. It's easier to find information that you're looking for related to the city, and updated the color scheme, updated the logo information. We have this new service finder that you're able to search for, different items that you maybe would be looking for with regard to the city. If you're looking to pay a utility bill or for a recreation class or find a special event. If you want to view the city calendar or city newsletters, council meetings, agendas, we tried to put together sort of a comprehensive list of what people come to the city website for. And so Galt Market, reviewing our analytics, was one of the top ones. And so we tried to make sure that folks could find the market easily on the website. So we have it here in the top navigation. We have it down here in this spotlight section, city meetings and agendas. The police department was a big one. Utility payments, obviously folks come here a lot for utility information. And then also the navigation for just general government services. So if you hover over, looks like my screen is frozen here, different departments will show up under the government tab. We tried to get away from such a huge menu of different selections in the top navigation. And so we've narrowed it down by city council, commissions, committees, the clerk's office, the different departments. We also have most of the reasons people would come here if you're a business looking to open a business license, or if you need planning and building assistance. If you are a contractor that's wanting to bid on a CIP, we have Our City, which is one of the ones that we worked, I think the hardest on was just to make sure that folks that do live in the city that are looking for information can easily find sort of the menu items. The police department, as I mentioned, was a big one that showed up. And so PD, incident and arrest reports, live scan fingerprinting, requesting of records, parks and recreation is obviously a big one. So we tried to make sure that the navigation here was intuitive for our residents. And so, like I said, this isn't, a brand new website, but we tried to redesign it so that information here is easy to navigate. We took some new photography here in the community and imported this into the homepage. We have the Galt Market meetings and events still showing up here, similar to what we had on the previous website. We have city news and events that we are continuing to push out. And then we have the social media that shows up on the bottom. So these are the recent posts from Galt PD and from the city's Instagram page. And then this is just the footer navigation here. But I wanted to make sure that everybody knew that we will be launching this tomorrow. Most of the interior pages are the same. We've reorganized some things to make sure that individuals that typically come to the website and know where to go by department will be able to find the information, but the front page and some of the menu navigation has changed a little bit. And so our new URL launches tomorrow. We are no longer using the ci.galt.ca.us. We are now cityofgalt.org. And anybody that does go to our old website will be connected to the new website automatically. But I just wanted to make sure that you guys all kind of had a preview of what this was going to look like. We're hoping to transition tomorrow around 8:30, 9 o'clock. We'll be working with our IT folks and the consultant on transitioning this over. So hopefully this is a welcome addition for council and for the community. But we're trying to portray Galt, I think, in the best light possible. We've got some great imagery that we tried to encompass as part of the homepage, and just making sure the navigation is functional for the community. So I'm happy to answer any questions you guys might have, but tomorrow you'll be able to see this live and operational, hopefully mid-morning.
So Director Mendez, if I may, I just wanted to tag on a couple of things here. When we were designing this new website, we took and Director, Economic Development Manager Mendez.
I'll take the promotion all day long, Lorenzo, if you want to go ahead and hand it to
So we looked at the old website and we got analytics on what items folks came to the website looking for. And that became the basis for the design that you see here. And because I know there's probably going to be a, hey, did you talk to the public? How do you know the public wants it in this way? Well, there was a pretty detailed report that we got from our consultant as to what folks are looking for, the Galt Market and PD. And so we needed to make sure those were front and center. I have also been hearing comments about the website ever since I arrived here back in August 2020. It's cumbersome. I can't find anything. I don't know what's going on. So we wanted to make sure that it was something that was easy to navigate. It also required us to clean up old links, old material that is no longer relevant, and getting that off the website and refreshing that information. So council members, we wanted to get this in front of you. If you have any questions, we can talk now, or you're welcome to contact us tomorrow. But we're pretty proud of this, and these are great pictures of Galt. And I, being the new guy, I had to ask, where is that? So there was a lot of educating Lorenzo as well.
Yeah, well, I'll start off. I think it looks great. I mean, to say that this is a long time coming would be an understatement. I mean, we've been talking about this website since I've been on council. And I'm very happy to see this. What I noticed, it looks like too, there's a little bit of redundancy too, where like I noticed when you were at click under our city and you go down, there's like PD and you can go to like, I want to report, whatever. But also if they just on the main page, if you just scroll down, PD is actually one of the main little icons down lower down. I can't see it right now, and that you can navigate through. So if you click on PD there, it takes you the same way. So there's like a couple redundancies, right, for getting to places. which is good.
Yeah.
It's a good thing. Yeah.
And that was intentional. You know, when we pulled the analytics on the site, the Galt Market, Parks and Recreation, special events, and the police department showed up repetitively. So we tried to make sure that it's easy to find the information. The service finder, you know, I'm not sure who, when you go to a website, initially goes to the search bar or to the service finder, but if you're going to go for Parks and Recreation or for special events, you can, it links from the homepage, it links from our city, you know, under special events. We have community events here on the homepage as well. We did try to ensure that there were multiple ways because people search websites, you know, differently as you approach it. And so when we started this, it really was about what do people come to our website for? And so each department gave a list of, you know, what is it, if you're a business and you're coming to the city's website, what are you looking for? Economic development, business incentives and resources. You want development and engineering services, TOT or sales tax information. And so we tried to ensure that there were multiple ways to get to information from the different navigations. We did have a lot of redundancy on the old website. The problem was that people were duplicating efforts and information wasn't being updated on every single page. And so municipal code information would show up on a certain page, but it was from, you know, 2016, or, you know, we just didn't do a good job of making sure we were updating all of the pages as things changed. And so this, we deleted hundreds of pages from our website. And the idea really was to make sure that residents or, you know, folks that were coming to our site were able to find the information they were looking for. Employment was a big one. If they just want to contact, you know, the city, you're able to get to phone numbers, you're able to get to email addresses. Service requests, we had this button on the homepage before. It was listed as Galt Connect. Well, not everybody really knows what Galt Connect is. And so if you want to report graffiti or if you want to report an abandoned vehicle, you go through the same process. So we tried, like I said, on the back end, the page information looks the same. We've organized it a little bit differently, but the idea really was to be able to get people to the information they needed right away without having to pick up a phone and call somebody or get frustrated and just close out the website altogether. So we did do a lot of due diligence in trying to determine what the most commonly, you know, searched things on the website were. And so obviously the Galt Market was a big one. Special events was a big one as we went through. City news, we're trying to ensure that there's a graphic with all of the announcements that we have. And then our social media is linked here as well. And so this was really, I mean, I think there's been some frustration from a lot of our staff over the last several months because it was a lot to go through and sort of dig through. But we did want to make sure that at the end of the day, this was something that we could be proud of, that it reflected Galt in the best light. And I think that, you know, overall, I think that we've accomplished that. So you are probably going to get complaints. People are going to be like, hey, I used to go XYZ to get to this information and now I can't find it. Or I had it bookmarked and it's not working. Feel free. My information is on the website. We're going to push out some social media press tomorrow to make sure everybody knows that this is new. If you were looking for information you can't find anymore, we're going to have it's economic development email, but it'll be posted so that anybody who has questions or can't find information can come to us directly, or, you know, call the clerk's office and we can, you know, make sure that we're responding to everybody, you know, in a quick manner. But yes, this is it. It's been a labor of love, I can't tell you.
Well, I'm sure there'll be the learning curve for some, but I think ultimately they'll find that it's probably easier to navigate. And so that was the goal. And so, although it'll take some getting used to, I'll try to familiarize myself with it really well. So people ask me, I can not have to send them all your way and I can just have the answers. So anyways, not to go on and talk about this, but thank you. I don't have any questions. Does anybody have any other questions? Or they can save them for our council comments, or you're welcome to ask her now. Anybody?
I have a comment. Just I'm really looking forward to it, and I'm really glad to hear about all the housekeeping, because I often ran into documents that I found very old. Sometimes it was a struggle, so it's a struggle to find the most pertinent one. So I'm honestly looking forward to it. Thank you.
Very good. Amy, thank you so much. Well done. Well done. And for the team of department stakeholders, also well done. A lot of work here, and this looks gorgeous. So this is great. This is great. So well done, Manager Mendez.
Thank you. And tomorrow, again, cityofgalt.org, we're trying to match everybody's email domains. So that will be the new domain for the city. It will redirect. So we're going to start updating that website information on business cards and any communication that we have from the city, but everything will redirect for the next several months. So just a heads up.
All right.
Thank you again. I appreciate it.
Very good. Thanks. So before we go to Director Solis, I wanted to mention that we'll be moving forward into the mid-year review during either March 1st or March 15th. We're working on the calculations right now. Also during that time, we will be bringing forth proposals for positions, perhaps the reinstatement of some of the frozen positions. Of course, we will demonstrate a sustainable plan to support those positions. This will also include the mayor's proposed litter abatement worker, and we will be bringing that forward with position description and a place for a departmental position or departmental place for the position as well. So I wanted to give council a heads up as to coming events. And I'll turn it over to Director Armando Solis. Sir.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council. Just a couple of things. I wanted to remind everybody that we are accepting registrations for T-ball and adult softball through the 21st without a late fee and through the 28th with a late fee. The Winter Bird Festival occurred on February 5th, and I want to thank our Winter Bird Festival committee and our staff members, Jackie Garcia and Chelsea Garibay. They did a great job, and they pivoted when we had to. And then it is with sadness that I share with you that our after-school program supervisor, Donna Garcia, passed away this last Sunday, February 12th. She was an integral member of our staff who cared deeply for all of her staff and students. Donna will be missed, so our thoughts and prayers are with her family. And that's it.
Thank you, Director Solis. On behalf of Director Selling, who had to drop off of the meeting tonight, he has no comments from Public Works. Let's go with Community Development Director Craig Hoffman.
Hi, council members. I have two items for you. On February 7th, we submitted a revised draft of the housing element back to HCD. We wanted to get their feedback on it before I brought it back to the council. So hopefully they're able to turn that review around. I'll get that back to you, hopefully within the next couple months. And last Thursday, we had a planning commission workshop on the Fairfield residential project. And I did really want to thank Amy Mendez and our mayor, Sean Farmer. There were a lot of comments that were coming in on our city Facebook page, and they put in a lot of extra time trying to answer a lot of questions, get a lot of facts out there. I think sometimes those pages' opinions become facts, and they put in a lot of time trying to make sure the correct information was out there. So thank you, both of you, to that, and Amy for the economic information at the Planning Commission meeting. It really helped. And that's what I have for the council. Thank you all.
Thank you. Thank you. Let's go with our police chief, Ryan Kalinowski.
Good evening, council. I actually have nothing to report out tonight, but thank you.
Very good. Human Resources Director, Stephanie Van Stein.
Yes, good evening, council. No department updates, but I did want to welcome Matt Boring back to the city of Galt. We're very excited to have him as our finance director. I also did want to give kudos to Amy Mendez because I was looking at our updated HR webpage today and it looks really good. I think it's going to be very easy to use for employees or people looking for a job. So kudos to Amy. Thank you. Have a good evening.
All righty. Thank you. Let's go with City Attorney Frank Splendario.
Yes, good evening, Mayor, Council. I have nothing to report tonight.
Very good. And I think that's the group. Mr. Mayor, thank you.
All right, thank you. Moving on to the last item, which is our comments by city council members and future agenda items. We will start with the Vice Mayor, Mr. Sandhu. You're muted, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thanks for the staff, all the directors, city manager, and interim city attorney getting all the report and advice. Thank you for all of the staff. And thank you for the public comments. And I would like to welcome and congratulations to Matt Poring. He have a good team. I also watch the planning commission meeting and it was interesting. And I also watch youth commission meeting last week. And that's all. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Council member Papineau.
Thanks. Now, once again, to reiterate, thanks so much to the staff for all the reports and especially the AFCR, I'll get used to saying the new name. And welcome, Matt. And thank you, Amy. I'm looking forward to clicking around tomorrow. And then also thank you to the public who's put up with the hazards and pain of technology and for joining us in what better be our last Zoom meeting of the council. That's all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilmember Vandenberg.
Thank you, Mayor. Well said, Mr. Pompano. Thank you, staffer. I'm sure there's a lot of pressure in producing that financial document. Thank you for the time spent, city manager and Matt Boring, the couple of hours you spent with me answering my questions. It all seemed to go very well. My condolences to Donna and her family. You know, that's always sad to hear. There just seems to be far too much of that lately. And I am, other than that, I'm looking forward to the website. It's not something I usually say, but it's been frustrating when I go there. Maybe I'm just a little anti-tech savvy sometimes when it comes to websites, but I'm certainly looking forward to a smoother experience in the city of Galt. That's all I have, Mayor.
All right, thank you, sir. Councilman Lozano.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to Amy Mendez. I had an opportunity to speak with her last week, I think, beginning of the week, and she was describing this new website. And as I saw it today, it was exactly as described. And so I look forward to not the new website, but the revamped website and all the ability to actually find things. So great work by all of the staff on that. Again, condolences to Donna and the Parks and Recreation staff for passing. Absolutely horrible, and you know, it's always sad to lose one of our own family members, and so best to her family and the staff. I had the opportunity to attend the 5th annual wine, beer, and food event put on by the Chamber on Friday the 4th, and it was a great event, well attended, and I'm hoping that it was a successful fundraiser for the Chamber. It was the auction items did very well, I think, and so it was good to see people out together and enjoying it. Also attended the Cosumnes Firefighter Crab Feed on Saturday, and it was a great event as well. They reduced the number of tickets just out of caution, and but it seemed to be sold out, and didn't actually get around to see everybody that I wanted to, but it was a good event and well done, and the money that is raised there will go toward funding folks that are coming into the fire service for their training and expenses that they incur through paramedic school and EMT school. So that'll be good, good for the community, good for the folks that are going into the training. I think that's pretty much it. My last thing I wanted to mention was the planning commission meeting the other night that Craig mentioned, Mr. Hoffman mentioned. It did go very well. It was very well done. I think all the questions that I had were answered ahead of time in the presentation. A couple here and there. I did like the project. I think it's pretty cool. So, but good work on staff's part. It was again, I think it was pretty well attended. So thank you to Amy and Craig and all of you that put in time into that presentation, and certainly thank you to Fairfield Corporation. And that is all I have.
All right, thank you, sir. I too attended the Wine, Beer, and Food Festival. It's a great event. It usually is, but it's nice to see people kind of getting back to a normal and some social events. Look forward to a really busy year of our community events from our nonprofits and from the city. So congratulations to them on that. And I know many of some of you were there, and so congratulations again to Matt. Welcome back aboard. And I wanted to again thank Amy and all the people involved behind the scenes with the webpage. I'm looking forward to using it, and I'm very excited about that. And just generally, I want to express, I'm like struggling for the word. Just really happy overall about the city's, social media presence. I know I met with a police chief the other day. Really happy with their work, the city's work. I know Amy's behind that. I know the officers at PD that are behind their social media. But overall, as a city, we're doing a really good job with reaching people online. And so I love the efforts. I want to continue with more of it. So I want to thank everybody, and you know who you are. I want to thank the public again for being here tonight. I know we didn't have a lot of comment, but I see a lot of your names, some familiar names, people that regularly watch our council meetings every time, which I really appreciate that, even if you don't speak. I think it is a duty for our citizens to be involved in what goes on in their government. And you that are here are setting an example for the rest of the community to do so. So thank you for that. And the Planning Commission meeting, as Mr. Lozano mentioned, was good. A lot of good questions asked. I want to thank our commissioners. They all asked really, really good questions. It was a good meeting, very informative, and I liked the public input, and I liked the approach to it. I want to thank Craig and his staff for really doing a good job with the presenting of that project and being transparent with it and hearing people's concerns and answering those questions. And remind everybody, we have a community cleanup with beautification and the Youth Commission this week, Saturday, the 19th at Community Park. We're going to be cleaning Carillion Boulevard area. We'd love to see citizens out there. Bring your kids. We'd love to see young people attend. It's at 9 a.m. meeting at Community Park, 9 a.m. on Saturday the 19th. It goes about an hour or two. Stay as long as you can. You don't have to stay the whole time if you don't need to, or if you can't, but we'd love to see more people out there. And then last but not least, my condolences to the Garcia family. Thank you for her service to the city, and again, our condolences to her family. So with that, I will convene our council meeting at 8:13 p.m. Everybody have a good evening. Good night.